Okay, so welcome everybody. My name is Catherine Chappie, and I have been running these groups for about 6.5 years now, our UFO ET Experiencers group. And as of the last couple years, we've been hosting them online, which has opened it up to many more people. And I'm just so excited because tonight we have a speaker, a very interesting and wonderful speaker, and his name is SunBow. And I met him in 2019 at a Sasquatch family reunion in Chewala, Washington. And I will just tell you a little bit about SunBow. SunBow, True Brother, is an international author and speaker, shamanic practitioner, contactee, and interspecies communicator. He has authored 6 books, 4 of which are on the subject of hairy humanoids known as Sasquatch, Yeti, or Bigfoot. He also manages a website offering a wide range of information with hundreds of posts and articles, including over 300 experiencer, contactee, firsthand encounters. So I want to just say thank you so much, SunBow, for being here. And we welcome you with an open heart and open mind. And we're just so happy that you're here with us to share about your experiences today. So
thank you, Catherine. It's an honor to be invited on your podcast, your group, and thank you for the opportunity to share here.
Oh, well, thank you for coming. So what I usually do is I will ask if you can share about some of your earliest experiences and how this whole world of Sasquatch opened up for you and how it's developed over time, what you've gone through, some of your journeys, anything you want to share with us. You know, we're just so open and interested about this topic. So
sure.
Free.
Well, it's hard to find where it started because we're all eternal beings, and there was a big bang at some point, maybe, that started this kind of material universe we're in, and we've been in it for quite a while, in many lifetimes. But I guess I will start with this lifetime. That's already enough of a long story. There's been many stories, so that's why I've been guided in the last few years to write books. Right now, currently finishing my 3rd volume of my memoirs. It's a series, Contemporary Shamanic Journeys, in which it's much easier to go in deep detail of all these, at least memorable, anecdotes and teachings. So in 1 hour, I'll try to focus on the highlights, to try to share what's been the most influential in my learning. So, well, it started definitely from childhood because, since before school age, I was taught to open the 3rd eye and see the aura, and started having memories of past lives, and these kinds of things, and dreams, and often seeing entities, not all friendly, some frightening, and so I would not detail on all these childhood experiences because it was like a background to launch me on this quest. So I started traveling. Well, my late teenage, I was already on a spiritual quest, looking for answers, and I left before I was 17. My first tour of North America, which lasted 2 years, which was definitely I chose as my goal and purpose back then, not to aim at becoming rich or famous, but at seeking spiritual wisdom and knowledge and understanding. So that set me up on this track. That's pretty much when I started having more and more of those experiences. And at first, of course, I had not the background in my Christian or academic education to understand or address these out-of-body experiences or those entities I was meeting or similar experiences. So there's my first close encounter, which is a story I told several times, so I'll be very quick on this. It's was in Chehalis in the Fraser Valley in British Columbia, which is a place from where the name Sasquatch comes from, native name, which means the wild people.
Oh, wow.
So that in October 81, we went 10 young men camped by the river, and a Sasquatch came and put down our camp in the middle of the night, and we all heard him talk in our heads or in our dreams. Mm-hmm. But none of us could relate the event to Sasquatch because we had no knowledge at all about this kind of things, phenomena. So, but that started me because that same week I was there actually to do a visiting quest with the instruction of a medicine man I had received, and I did that, and I met my first spirit guide. And again, it's really impressive and frightening at the beginning when you don't have the right mentoring to experience these realms. Mm-hmm. But then it sent me on a quest. So I went around churches and temples and ashrams and all kind of spiritual schools, where I did find some amount of interesting knowledge and answers, but I found mostly my answers about these paranormal experiences in shamanic cultures. You know, on our continent, we call Turtle Island. It's Native American teachings, ancestral tribal teachings. So because those cultures have been familiar and used to explore and understand and discover those realms, the spirit world, or the supernatural, we call paranormal, mm-hmm. and psychic phenomena as well. So that's when I started in 81, 82. I ended up on Hopi land. I was hosted and given teachings and went to the first Kachina dance. Those were all like steps to bring me to be able to deal with those experiences and encounters. Mm-hmm.
Can I ask, what is a Kachina dance?
The Kachina is well, the Hopi and Pueblo cultures have what they call a Kachina. They represent powerful spiritual beings. Mm-hmm. But a number of them, a good amount of them, come from the stars. They are star people, basically. Mm-hmm. Some of them, some more represent ancestors or animals, but they're all we could say, the ally spirits the Hopi work with. Mm-hmm. Happened to be adopted by the Hopi in 87 and danced in the Kiva with the Kachina, but that's another story. I don't want to go too sidetrack. Next thing is my first close encounter of the third kind. Well, apart from the Sasquatch experience I just told, because Sasquatch are part of the star family, but some of them live on this earth. They're caretaker of this earth. Some of them travel the stars, so they're not exclusively star people, but they are part of them. So November 1983. We were about the Laurentide Mountains, north of Montreal. It was really winter, and we had an event we organized, and we were spiritual communities, big circles and mantras and stuff like that. So we did a circle in the snow, and there in our bag ended snow angels, and it drew a wonderful mandala that could be certainly spotted from way up. So later that night, me and a couple of friends, we went back there to that circle in the snow, and there was a landed ship across about maybe 200 feet from us.
Whoa.
It was about the size of a small car. It was a typical saucer craft with a not glass but transparent dome.
Yeah.
On legs, and we could see there was a seat in the cockpit, and there was a being on the seat, and it was a small, probably not much taller than 3 foot being, with a big upside down pear-shaped head. And we could see there was like a little glowing light floating around the ship, and we could see like the outline of the being, of the seat and of the ship, like this little glowing light flying around. And we were too like stunned, I guess, to get any closer. We stayed like 15-20 minutes watching it, and started feeling this telepathic communication. And just at a point before we were ready to leave, I had this thought, maybe we're having an hallucination, or we don't, maybe it's nothing, And then the ship sent a little bright ball of light that zigzagged toward us and disappeared. So it's like, well, did you see it? It's like, okay, yeah, you were gonna think it's not, because there's always this cognitive dissonance that pushes us to refuse or deny or explain away what we don't know or understand. We think it cannot exist or it's impossible. So there is this communication. Telepathic communication is often at our own rhythm, because it cannot be learned overnight. It takes years and years of practice, but they show us that, we hear what you're thinking and what you're feeling, so here's our answer. And around those years, I started seeing fairly regularly some spaceships, and I started practicing and noticing right away this telepathic communication. It's like, they know they're there. And sometimes when you just like ask for a little sign, it's like, am I really seeing this? They will give you one. Not always, on command, but it's a friendly exchange.
Yeah.
So this, again, there's the selective memory. Because what I've noticed is that through all these experiences I've had very often with other witnesses, it seems like every person has perceived a different level, or not the same amount of details, or someone just saw a light, someone saw a ship, another one saw the being inside. Yeah. And after a while, there's that selective memory process that if you don't find enough information to explain it, or you lose interest and you kind of brush it off. It's like, oh, it never happened. So I've noticed that many of those encounters, there are sometimes in groups, there are some who might not see or hear anything at all. There are some that will partly perceive, and there are others who will be more able to decrypt and to translate, we can say. what's happening.
Right.
So I can move on to the next major stepping stone, I would say, in my path. This was, and again, you know, I skip a lot of small anecdotes because there's too many.
Yeah.
So I will focus on the highlights. And then winter 86, early winter 86, I would guess. I was hitchhiking northern Quebec and away a remote region, you know, hours through the woods, and I got basically, it was late at night and I was in traffic and I got stuck. So I was really cold. So I remember admiring the wonderful starry sky there because there was no city, no pollution.
Mm-hmm.
I finally found a small restaurant that was open and went in and had a coffee and passed out. And this, what happened is what some would say a vivid dream, but it's an out-of-body experience. I was in my dream, I was sleeping there in that restaurant table, and I saw two beings come in and sit with me, and I could see they were like human shape, but just a light body. Could see no facial traits or details, but I felt right away I get old friends. I know you. You know, it's like, oh hi, what are you doing? Sat with me, and after, you know, just like the usual hi and such, they asked me this. They say, we would like to show you something. Would you like to come with us? So I say, well, I'm curious. You know, so I walked. That's where probably the out-of-body experience started. I walked out of the restaurant with them, and they showed me the sky, this beautiful starry sky, and I looked up, and then I noticed some stars were dancing. Mm. So they said, this is us. Would you like to come and visit? I said, yeah. So it was all consensual. It was all like, it's nothing to do with an abduction. Right. Just like an invitation. Would you like to meet us? And so within a second, we were up in the ship. It was, I say bell-shaped. It's not exactly, it's like a conical, but with rounded edges. And the size of a house or something. There was like a corridor around, like a hall, and then you would come into the central control room where they all greeted me, and they showed me their ship and explained how it worked. So they showed me what they call in the center, they call the iridescent rose or lotus, because it looked like a multi-petal flower made of mirrors that were some kind of metal, I couldn't say, that were movable. Mm-hmm. And that was like the axis of a central wheel, which was turning one way, like counterclockwise, and there was another wheel. Both wheels were made out of crystal, and the other wheel was made spinning the other way around, like so. So that creates with a direct piezoelectricity, which with the movement creates a direct current, electric current, and a direct electric current turning one way with another one, turning the other way around, creates anti-gravity. That's the known fact. And this also creates the electromagnetic field that can shield the ship to create its own gravitational field. So that's what can zigzag like this without the occupants being affected. Yes. And it also creates free energy that powers and propels the ship.
Can I ask you a question about this? So what you're describing to me seems like things that I've seen, and I have videotaped those ships. And when I zoom in, I can literally see these like spinning in different directions. It's like you described, the center of that console or the center of that ship. One is turning one way and the other one is turning the other way. And so I'm very curious about that, because I have heard that is what the Merkaba is. The Merkaba is that, one triangle inside of another, and then one spins one way, one spins the other way, but it's three-dimensional, and this is how they can travel in between different dimensions.
Yeah, that's one of the most used technology on spaceships. They have others to learn later. But at that time in '86, I was 19, and I had no background in physics or anything to understand this kind of things. It was my first time, consciously anyway, aboard a ship where they gave me some information. So that was an important step on my path.
Did they give you information about like what your connection is with them, and how, like, did they give you like a little hint about certain things you're going to be doing?
Not all at once. We're 40 some years, yes, but at the first time you have to first meet them, and you get used to their energy and realize you're not going crazy, even if you don't know anybody you can talk about it to. Sometimes that's the hardest part. It's just like, that's what was my case for several, probably 30 some years before, apart from exceptions, to find like say considerable audience that is open or interested, and even sometimes sharing similar information. Because if you try to put that out in the large public, unselected, it's going to do some strange feedback. Right.
I understand. Yes.
So I can continue with the next major experiences I had. The same year, and in July '86, I was on Hopi land on a vision quest with 4 friends. We had 4 of us had traveled from Quebec on a vision quest to go reconnect with our past life memories out there. And we met elders, namely White Bear, Oswald Fredericks, who was one of the main sources of the Book of the Hopi, and a highly knowledgeable master, I'd say. I could see white light emanating from him in the daytime. And he had a collection of old spaceship parts on his front yard that he had gathered. And he also told us he was the last human who was still sitting with the Council of Star Elders. He called the Confederacy of Sister Planets. And he told us they were landing ships behind his house on Prophecy Rock, and that we could find. We saw the tracks there where they land. That's where the Hopi received their stone tablets from the one they call Maasar, the Earth Keeper, thousands of years ago. And he told me also in the room we were going, he said, you will find old parts of spaceships there, and I did. So we went to that old room, which is half a day walk in the desert, and the Hopis don't go there. We were warned that the place was haunted. There was curves, and at night spirits try to push people at the cliff.
Mhm.
So we got there before sunset, and we did our small ceremony until night came, and then that's what happened. I was pushed off a rock. So I said, let's circle, and we circled, and we started praying and chanting. And while this powerful, raging whirlwind was turning around us,
Mhm.
roaring with voices, and it went on for a while until it calmed down all of a sudden. And I received a message and said, peace has been restored.
Mm.
And then I looked up and I pointed to the others. There was this huge mothership coming toward us. It was a flying city. It was, I cannot say how wide it was, but it's certainly over a quarter mile. Thousands of lit windows. It
Wow.
was somewhat donut shaped. There was a hole under from where smaller ships were coming in and out.
Wow.
And it came very close. I could not, it's hard sometimes to estimate distance in the sky at night, especially. But it came definitely very close, and it turned around us counterclockwise, and it disappeared behind the butte, which is the highest point on Hopi land. So 3 of us climbed up on top again, and it was hovering there above the valley, and lifted up again, and it made another turn around us clockwise this time, and slowly drifted into the sky. The whole sighting lasted a good half hour.
Wow.
There was 5 of us, and so that I can say it was the largest ship I've saw with my physical eyes, at least from this close. You know, so you might see one fly very far, but this we can see thousands of windows, and among 100 plus ships I've seen, that was definitely the biggest one, a mothership.
Wow. That's wild. Yeah. And how low would you say it was?
No more than a few hundred feet from us. There was also, it showed us, because there was a telepathic contact there, and it showed us that they cared. They had noticed we had cleansed, at least partially and temporarily, this old cursed site. And it showed us that they cared about human karma, long-term evolution, because they came kind of to acknowledge and to let us know they knew. So there was many more other experiences similar. These are highlights. That same year, that's around December 86 or January 87. I'm not exactly sure the date. I was around Mount Shasta. I was living on a land at the foot of the mountain where there was deep caves. I went 1 mile underground there. And there was a lot of spaceships. I happened to be seeing, not every night, but regularly, spaceships there.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where for a couple of months, it was my main pastime to go out at night and walk into the sagebrush and look for spaceships. And one night, after a while, I went out again one night towards the cave. I was walking towards the cave, and I saw this spaceship again. Type of conical, round conical, bell-shaped type of craft,
Mm-hmm.
about the size of a house. By the number of windows, can see. And it just came down over the cave and probably landed because it disappeared behind the junipers and the lights went off. So I was very excited. I felt, wow, maybe they're waiting for me, but I was, you know, it takes quite a bit of courage to say, okay, I'm gonna go with my physical body, meet those beings. I don't know where they come from. So I ran back to the house to tell my friends because they had, you know, a couple sightings before, but they were curious about my stories, and so we went up on the roof. There was a platform with a nice view above the sagebrush desert, and we watched towards the cave, and we waited for 5-10 minutes, and they started to give up and say, oh well, maybe there's nothing, let's go back. So I said, what about if we let them know we would like to see them and ask them, invite them if they want to show up. So they said, okay, so we just kind of focus on that thought for a minute or two, and there the ship rose again. Yeah. And it flew straight toward us. It was about half a mile maybe. And it flew straight toward us and passed maybe 100 or 200 feet above. We could see it very clearly, all the details. We heard this swishing sound, kind of wind, but no engine or anything like that. So for me, that was consciously that I remember, I think that was the first CE5, close encounter, the fifth kind. Because in the third kind, there's the presence of humanoid. The fourth kind, there's communication. And the fifth kind, it's like you initiate contact. Mm-hmm. You call them and they come. And so that was still pretty early in my path, and I was shown that these things do exist. And even if you can hardly speak about it, at least back then, mm-hmm. You learn the teachings and you work with them. You go on and you know better next time.
So when did you start having more telepathic communion with them, where they were actually starting to come into your awareness as beings? You know?
Started pretty much at the beginning, but it developed. It's like you learn to speak a language, and after a few years, speak better, or to play music. So it went on like this from several smaller anecdotes in between two stepping stones, highlights that were like worth remembering. And it went on from there. After 86, can switch to 89 when I had a few special encounters there. First, around February 89, I was with a couple of friends riding in Highway 1 along the California coast between San Francisco and Santa Cruz. And in broad daylight, my friend and I were sitting in front. We saw this hat-shaped, silvery craft just appear bright, clear as day in front of us for 3-4 seconds and then disappear. And we both went like, "Did you see this?" Yeah, and we both saw the same thing. We both knew it was a spaceship, but sometimes that's as much as you can know at first. So we went and camped that night over the cliffs above Greyhound Rock. And my friends fell asleep. I stayed up meditating, and then I saw this appear above the sea. So this bright yellow light just pop up. I suspect it was a USO because California coast is famous for USOs. There's a lot of flying craft that come in and out of the ocean there. So I just saw it appear, I don't know, maybe half a mile to a mile over the water, and then it flew towards the shore to the tip of the Greyhound Rock, which is like a big rock looking like a whale. And it stopped at the tip of the rock, and then I could see it was saucer craft with a transparent dome, pretty much like a hat shape, like the same we had seen earlier that day. So I tried to wake my friend up and say, hey, they were totally lethargic. They were like in a coma. They couldn't open an eye, like if something had put them asleep. So I understood, well, that's for me to see this, and I have tried more than once too. So but then I saw two beings come out of that ship that was floating above the ground, about small car size ship. I saw two beings come out up there. They were human size, green suit, and a helmet. Like I didn't see their face, but from their appearances, and it seemed to be a man or woman, or male and female. Because I'm not sure they were human. Actually, I don't think they were. And they started walking along the rock, and the ship was floating behind them. And when they would stop, it would stop, and when they would walk, it would follow. So I understood they were controlling it with their mind. And they came on the beach, and I was, I don't know, maybe 300 feet above them. And they faced me, and they started sending me messages. And it was pretty much an invitation. It's like, come down and meet us. Again, I was too afraid still. I was like, who are you guys? You know, where you come from? I don't know. You pop out of the ocean in the station. And it lasted, I don't know, a good 15, 20 minutes, this exchange, but they would not force me. They wouldn't, they understood I was still not ready. But anyhow, they let me know they knew I was there. And that was the most greatest question at the beginning. It's like, why are they coming to see me? You know, why don't they go check my friends? You know? And I found out they could see many people, but they kind of select who they can communicate with, because you have to be on this path first. You have to be ready to do it. You have to dedicate to do some spiritual work on yourself. And it's not like everybody's path, that's for sure. But to finish that day, after that exchange, they just sat back in their ship again and flew and passed like fairly close from me and left. And within minutes, another ship came. This was bigger. It was probably 100 feet across. So it's the size of a large building or something. It was spherical, and it had all kinds of different shaped and different light, different colors. light. And it flew very close, probably 100 feet or so from above me. And I could feel the breeze, and the trees were going along, like bending with the breeze that passed over. So that was another important encounter for me, like in '89, and there was another one that same year in August, where I was with that same friend I just mentioned. We saw a ship in California, and that time we were on the northeast shore of the St. Lawrence Gulf, which is pretty much open sea there. And we were in a gathering, and there were the site was made of sand dunes. So one night, both of us went on a walk over the sand dunes, and we got to the top of a dune, pretty remote from the rest of the people, and we could see in the next valley that big ship floating above the ground, not so high, I guess 10 feet above the ground. It was a different energy to that one. It had a submarine shape, and it looked like much more denser. We could hear heavy machine, like engines. There were pipes and apparels on the outside. It looked a little more like a military ship. And we just stood there and watched it, and it just lifted up slowly and flew right next to us at about 100 feet and disappeared. I believe those from all the different research and further experiences I had, I believe those to be from the so-called Nordics, who have bases under the sea and underground, and also work with some governments. And they also often fly in those cylindrical or cigar-shaped ships. And they are also very often seen in the North Atlantic. So that all the circumstances make me think there was no telepathic contact that time. It was like a different clan or a different agenda or something. So yeah, there's many more. That's some of the most, I would say, marking for me. We could go on with as well. Sasquatch experiences started happening meanwhile. With encounter in '83, and with the telepathic exchange and information download. They showed me visions of their distant world past era. And then in '86, I had a physical encounter with a Sasquatch that ran in Trinity County, Northern California, which is called Sasquatch Country. It's just next to Bluff Creek and Willow Creek, and that Sasquatch came to steal in the garden there, and that remote community, and ran across. A dog turned man and started barking, and Sasquatch ran across. I could hear his heavy footfall at a speed that no way could, and then he stopped and released this blood-curdling scream, which is so typical, and then silenced the dog in the forest. And that makes you know that's a Sasquatch. It's nothing else. Nothing else sound like that. It went on in the early 90s. I was started to have other encounters where they came next to me invisibly. I could hear their footsteps, like throwing pine cones, and I knew that by then it was Sasquatch. It's like, okay, what else? I didn't know all the legends and stories that elders know about those things back then, but I was starting to make sense out of it, to understand what was going on, and I had not yet connected them with the star beings. To me, it was like two different types of groups, but they are also very connected. And so let me know how much time we have left, because if I could go on, but I don't want to take too much of the schedule. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Yeah, no, we're at 8:53, so we do have a few more minutes.
Okay.
Share anything else about, your connection with them and how, how that kind of blossomed. And
All right. Okay, so I'll continue on with this account of the main highlights. And one was in 2003 on Vancouver Island, when a friend and I, coming back from a native ceremony in the middle of the rainforest, we saw this Sasquatch in front of, standing on the road, dirt road, and we came very close, less than 100 feet from it, because it moved in the wood, but we passed by, and that time, what we felt, including the dog that was with us, we felt like hypnotic paralysis, or basically we froze. We couldn't react or say anything, except the dog was panicking like mad.
wow.
And we were like, it took a couple of minutes before we could talk. And did you see? Yeah, we saw the same thing.
Wow.
But that 1 or 2 minutes, we were totally frozen. And that made me realize that they have a very strong psychic power. And that made me realize by then that they're not big apes and they're not primitive cavemen.
Yes.
They are something else, and that involves what we don't hear about in the mainstream Bigfoot world, which means all the paranormal and psychic aspects connecting them with the star family.
Mm-hmm. How close were you to the Sasquatch at that time?
Well, we passed right pretty much next to it, because we saw it maybe 200-300 feet ahead, but we were rolling towards it.
Okay.
And just at some point, he stepped off the road and jumped in the road. And I told my friend, stop. He said, no. So since then, we've had encounters together, actually, him and me, and he's had his own too. So, like I say, it takes a long preparation, especially the first step is to get over the fear of the unknown. And one of the main things is don't read all the fiction or the movies they put out, because it's totally scare stories that has nothing to do with reality. Mm-hmm. There might be a very powerful being that's gonna make you feel small and humble, and but if you can make friends with such a being, you're winning. Yes, it's not like you realize that they're wise elders, that they're caretakers, they're star-faring beings, and they have abilities beyond our understanding. So once we accept that they exist, first, they don't need our permission. Second, they are who they are, not who we want them to be. And the best way to know is to connect with them, to contact, and to learn from them, or second best, from people who know them. And that includes, like I often say, indigenous cultures who have interacted with them for generations, if not millennia, because I found the most intense, powerful Sasquatch encounter stories I can say. Also, Star Being story. I heard them in like intimate medicine circles, in like inner tribal ceremonial circles, people who won't go online, won't write books, won't give interviews. They will share that with a trusted circle of insiders, basically, people who are respectful enough to first hear it and to want to learn.
Right. Do you feel like you have a connection with them beyond just this lifetime?
Definitely. As several others have expressed, I remember past lives among them.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is I know from my native Cree cousin that I'm part Sasquatch, 1/32.
Mm-hmm.
And some people think it sounds unbelievable, but there's many stories like that among indigenous tribes that they probably won't tell you, or on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But that you will hear among elders who have those type of experiences and knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And is it true that all of the native people throughout all of the world know of these beings? They have a connection to these beings?
Certainly most. They don't all have the same relations with them. There are tribes who fear them, prefer to stay away. There are tribes who have long interaction and exchange, trading, even we can say interbreeding, but it's more like on an interdimensional level. We could say exchange of genetics.
Mm-hmm.
And there are also so it depends what tribe, but they're known on all continents, or in all ancient cultures, pretty much.
Yeah. And they're everywhere, right? They're all over the globe. There's not an area where they don't exist.
Yeah, and there's different types, taller ones, smaller ones, different number of toes or opposed tongue or different things.
Mm-hmm.
But those are basically lineages.
Mm-hmm.
And each lineage has their own characteristics, limitations, and potential.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe a Yeti from the Tibet is different than a Yowie from Australia in some regards, but they can pretty much understand each other pretty well. It's true telepathy mostly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they talk telepathically, they speak the language of whoever they're communicating with, correct?
Yeah, which leads to, maybe I can say, the final phase of my learning journey, which started about 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And when I learned that I'm part Sasquatch, and I was really curious that maybe I got something to know about these beings, because then I had already had a few encounters by then.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is already more than most people. So I figured there must be a reason to it. And one thing, the Sasquatch were calling me, basically, and that's when I started to be open. And then they would come and walk on my roof and walk around my camp, look at me through the window, sit on my bed. I could feel a touch. I could hear a whisper. It went on, and it was as much as I could take. Because one night he came and looked at me through the window, like a few feet away, and I was like, "Am I seeing this?" I'm like, I went for about a minute or two, and then I said, "That's not possible." So I saw him just turn around, and I heard him go, and I ran out, and I said, "Did I just see you?" And turned around and grunted, and he said, "You'll get ready." So within that year, the following spring in May 2015, I went on a vision quest with the explicit purpose to go and meet them, because I wanted to know who they were. And I felt ready at that point. And I went to a place, like I mentioned earlier, Vancouver Island, which were my clearest sighting, and also it's the hotspot, we can say, of all the planet. It has more reports per square mile than anywhere else.
Yeah.
So I went there. It's also very present in the native cultures there. So I went on that vision quest and finally contacted my who would become my main Sasquatch guide. We became known as Camus, and he's the one who gave me first of all the understanding of who they are, and this open communication, conversation, information download with all kind of you might last a few minutes, the encounter, but you might have weeks to process everything you've been taught. And that's when that happened. He started telling me, asking me, him and his people, to share publicly these experiences and teachings. And I was like, put me in a loony bin, and everybody, I think I'm not sort of making it up or try to make a buck or whatever, what you hear. It might be one of the main, their fear of ridicule, one of the main obstacles for people to come out of the woodwork and share their experiences. Because once I started sharing my experiences, there are hundreds, thousands of people who have these experiences. I would stop at the next general store or somewhere in the library, and the people, "Oh yeah, I had an encounter too," and oh wow. And
right?
so that's what they asked me to do. They said, "What are you gonna do with all this knowledge you've been gathering for decades, hiding in your bag? If you want it to be beneficial, it has to be shared." And I say, "Okay, I'll do the test." And within 1 week after this encounter, I was invited in the International Indigenous Leadership Gathering in Lillooet, BC, where I got earlier, and I was sitting with the chiefs and elders. And when they heard about my Sasquatch experience, they were all welcome. "Oh, what did they tell you? How did it happen and everything?" And they had their own stories, some of them. So I realized, like, wow, if international indigenous leaders have knowledge about this and acknowledge your experience, there must be others who are ready to hear it.
Yeah.
As soon as I engaged in that path, it became like an ongoing thing, like another encounter. Everywhere I was going, there was a Sasquatch to greet me, or a spaceship. And that's when they say, "Well, now write it down." And the Sasquatch Message to Humanity, they didn't know it was going to turn into a book, even less into a book series that has now reached worldwide, and it's still spreading it. The first book is translated in 7 languages now, the second in 3 or 4, and it keeps going. So they were right. They said this knowledge some people are ready to receive this knowledge, and it's also very freeing to be able to say, "Look, this is what life gave me. I want to share it," and it's not about me, It's because universal knowledge, spiritual wisdom, does not belong to the carrier, to the channel. It's there, it's always there, and some of us, well, we all can tap in it and then transmit some for the best interest of all beings. So that's where that's what have brought me at this point so far. Where I guess I still got a little ways to go.
Wow. Well, that is incredible. And I want to say too that I have your other book called Hairy Humanoids from the Wild. And this is like the encyclopedia of Sasquatch, right? And I was so happy when I opened it, and it's large print, which is really good. But
Yeah.
it also has awesome pictures and history and artwork, and it's a fabulous book. So along with your other, what is it? You have three of the Sasquatch Message to Humanity. And
Yeah,
then
the third one being a collaboration of 10 international co-authors with Channel Sasquatch.
Mhm.
So after finishing this, they asked me to, because channeled messages, you're in the fringe of the margin,
Mhm.
especially with Sasquatch.
Yeah.
So they say you make a documented research to reach a wider public, and there's already hundreds of sources I consulted and quoted for that research. But also, I believe for all the sources I consulted, I believe that Encyclopedia to be the most complete book written as a research on Sasquatch.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And the other book you had mentioned was Shamanic Journey. What is it called? Shamanic Journeys, and that's a memoir.
Contemporary Shamanic Journeys.
Mhm.
I'm about to publish a third volume probably next month.
The third one you said, or this?
Yeah, third one. There's two out.
Okay.
This is my 40 plus years of shamanic learning, training, practice, teachings I receive, experiences, encounters, this kind of.
Wow, wonderful. I'm so happy that you've documented it all and you've gotten it all down and written and out there for people so they can learn through your experiences and what you've been through and what you've learned through your journey. So thank you so much for doing that. It's really a gift to humanity for trying to understand, because so many people, I think, are they kind of laugh at it, because I've kind of had my own experiences with the Sasquatch beings too, and anytime I talk about it, I can see the eye roll and so I don't really talk to too many people about it, but I have been meeting people that have had spiritually transformative experiences, people that have had near-death experiences and all kinds of things like that, and those are people that are very open to these experiences, and many that I've met have had Sasquatch encounters. So I think it's going to be more widely understood as these kind of talks happen and people people talk about it more, and I think it's just amazing. It's fascinating. And I'm just so happy you're here with us. So I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to ask if anybody has questions to please use the raised hand function at the bottom of the screen. I'm sorry, it's called the reactions button. And then you'll see the raised hand button once you hit the reactions. And that will put you on the list for whoever is next. And I'll be calling on you. That's my dog in the background, excuse me. Okay, so we have Elizabeth. Hi, Elizabeth. You trying to unmute? I don't know why you can't.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you.
Okay, great. Hi, it was so nice to hear from you. I have to say, I bought your book about a year ago, and I'm sad to say that it's been still sitting on my pile of books that I need to read, but now after hearing you speak, I'm definitely gonna this will be the next one I open up. So I appreciate your story. And also I want to relay that I was a Bigfoot skeptic or a Sasquatch skeptic for a very long time. Like I was always open to other things, like there are spirits around us all the time. I definitely believe in like the star beings or ETs, whatever you want to call them. But my father, I was raised in central Pennsylvania, and he still lives up there. And he, back in his hunting days, he said that he used to hear these things that that supposedly are like hallmark characteristics of Bigfoot or Sasquatch. And so like at first I was like, yeah, you're just listening for things. But that the one theory that always stuck out to me, though, that made me believe that they do exist is the theory that they are like related to the ETs in some way. And so your story incorporating them as like part of the star people, I think that really solidifies it in my mind. So I appreciate that. When you say, the question I have for you is that when you say that I'm 1/32nd Sasquatch, the implication is that like one of your great grandparents is Sasquatch. But I'm just kind of curious, what's your understanding of what that means to be 1/32nd Sasquatch? Does that mean that they have the ability to alter our DNA, or is there some kind of interbreeding happening? I don't know how all that works. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah. Well, I'm a topic I mention often in presentation and in my books, actually. The one you hold in your hand now. There's it's a common story we hear among indigenous people. They have some kind of Sasquatch or other hairy humanoids ancestry. In my case, I found out I started doing my genealogy when I was my early preteen, and found like 600 names, and we have this native branch, the Cree people who call themselves Nehiyawe in their language. My grandfather was born there in northern Saskatchewan, but we could only trace back to his grandfather, my great-great-grandfather. So when I went there, finally, when I was 50, I went there and found his grave by a lot of coincidences, lucky coincidences. And I connected with my Cree cousins, third-degree cousins, and they connected me with the family historian. I had found in the old Gazette of the 1850, 60, not sure exactly, that my great-great-grandfather and his twin brother, when they were about 8 years old, they were found as wild kids in the bush of the Northwest Territories by the Great Slave Lake by some Cree trappers who adopted them. There was a little article in the old Gazette, and then I asked my cousin about that. What's the story? And she said, well, we have Sasquatch in the family. And she didn't want to talk too much about it because she didn't know me or anything. But I said, well, I had encounters, and so she felt enough comfortable to tell me that he was half Sasquatch. Mm-hmm. So that makes me 1/32nd. What happened exactly? I had, just like glimpses of visions and everything. I don't know exactly because it happened where nobody saw it. I believe, as we often hear, that sometimes some tribes even made deals with the Sasquatch to say, please leave our women alone. We'll give you some fish or something. Because there's been stories of abduction in some cases, and there were also people who went to live with the Sasquatch on their own.
Hmm.
There's also, if we look at the Sasquatch Genome Project, a 5-year study by Dr. Malbakachun and 6 labs of Texas. It's over 100 DNA sample. What she found is quite interesting is that they have 99% of DNA, same DNA, plus 1% of something totally alien, we can say. We don't know what it is. And that they, in their human DNA, they have the mitochondrial DNA that comes down from the mother is very often from human remote tribal populations from around the world, but especially that were close or connected with the Sasquatch in their cultures. So it's not like a random thing, it's like a long-term overseeing of lineages and because it obviously enriches the genetics on both sides.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we have Ryan that would like to
Greetings.
ask a question.
Yes, are all Sasquatch beings and species multidimensional? And if so, where do they go when they poof out of this density and dimension when they move? Because obviously they can hide and they're going somewhere. So where is their home? Where is their home in the stars? Where are they poofing in and out of when they come to Earth and then go elsewhere?
Great question.
Yeah, if you're a starfaring people and interdimensional ability and knowledge. You realize that the fabrics of space-time can be bent and twisted, and you can go from point A to point B without linear time or simply teleport. You can also appear and disappear, or materialize, dematerialize because of a change of frequency or density. So they don't have to go very far to be invisible to us. They can be right next to us, and I've seen them very often come in invisible form when I could even see their footsteps moving the leaves, the dry leaves, as they were coming close to me. So they're invisible, but they must be somewhat in a certain density if they can move things around through a pine cone or move the leaves. So there's this gateway that is very easy for them to switch in another place where you don't see them. There's also incredible networks of underground caves around the world, most of which are unknown or unexplored by us, modern science. There's many stories of underground civilizations in many ancient traditions. So the Sasquatch can also have basically important populations living in those caves away from all human access. And the other thing is space travel, because some of them, they were bioengineered, like we have, but much long before we were, and so they also had lived on several planets, so they have more diversity, subspecies and hybrids. So there are Sasquatch on other planets, and there are also some who stay on Earth, but who might go off planet at times if it's their part of their mission. So all these combined, explain why, people say, where's the evidence? Well, first of all, the evidence is very simple. It's been concealed. It's been hidden, and there's a cover-up. If you read my encyclopedia, there's dozens of documented cases since thousands of years. Hairy humanoids, whether in China, in Australia, in North America, in Europe, were hunted down, captured, killed, because they're not immortal. They maybe live longer, but they have also a lifespan. And so, where are the evidences? And you find out that each time one body is sent to a university or samples, DNA sample, they disappear or they're like debunked because they've tried to debunk, attempts to debunk. So there has been plenty of evidence. There are photos and footage. There are thousands of footprints and DNA samples, but they don't. It's not where they want to connect with us on this very physical level. They want to connect with us on the soul level, because their understanding of the universe is much higher than our actual scientific understanding. So with all this knowledge and skills, they can hide out of sight while leaving many tracks behind.
Thank you. I want to also ask, how many Bigfoots are there on the earth at any given time? How many species of Bigfoots are there, and what percentage are positive? Because there are some types of Bigfoot that are highly aggressive, where they throw rocks and can injure or kill humans in the past several hundred years. So not all of them are friendly. So I was wondering if you could put that in context, and how many are there? How many species are there? Are they all friendly? Clearly, not all of them are.
It's a good question too. There's, I don't know the exact number. They told me there's a few thousands. Their population was much larger before on our planet. One of the reasons they've been hunted down. If you talk about attacks, I wrote an entire chapter in my encyclopedia about attacks, alleged attacks. You see all those reports, you study them in details. You find out that there's usually way much more fear than harm. People see a Bigfoot, Sasquatch, walk across the road or look at them or scream, and they call it an attack. Very often. There's also dozens and dozens of cases where, each time they know there's one around, they put up posses and hunting parties to go after them. Since 1700 at least, we have reports of that, where they go out and hunt them and try to kill them. So why wouldn't a Sasquatch throw a rock? Because they have families, they have sacred sites, burials, and things they want to protect. Sometimes just wildlife around their home. And if you look at the reports of rocks being thrown, because there's also several, you find out that most of the time, it's not always, the rocks are thrown next to the person just to scare them or not to hurt them. And most people will get thrown rocks at or logs or stuff like that, or carry guns. They are very often hunters or intruders who are after, you can hunt with a camera too, who are like wanting to intrude in their space without respect. So they have also emotions, and they are allowed to self-defense. And if you look at the most famous scare stories, let's say the Boggy Creek Monster, that has made books and movies and a festival about this one incident. It's already 1970 or something. If you do a little research on the case, you know there's over 250 reports in that same area in a century. There's one story of attack. What about the 249 peaceful encounters we don't hear about? The story of attack is a Sasquatch. He put his hand in a window and they shot at him. They shot. And then they went out after trying to kill him. And then he was wounded and he got a rogue after a few days. You know, it's like but in the end, there was one guy who got thrown on the ground that was false patches. That's all the harm that was done. So why do they have monster marts and monster scare movies and festivals about this incident, but we don't hear about the 250 peaceful encounters in the same area?
Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. Okay, Edna. Hi, Edna. Can you unmute?
There I go. Yes, yes. Hi, SunBow. First of all, thank you so much for sharing your amazing experiences. I have all the books that I've read, this one twice, and the messages are amazing. I encourage everybody on this Zoom call to get these books and read them. Absolutely beautiful messages, totally changed my perspective. My question to you is, do you continue to get messages from Camus, or are you going to leave it to the other Earth ambassadors?
Well, actually, I still do. Once you have this connection, this type of friendship with spiritual guides, so I consider them, anyway, the ones I work with, it's for life. It's probably for lives, lifetimes.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to go along, you know, if you one day you say, oh, I'm done with it, I'm tired, you can shut it off, and that's the end of it, at least for a while. But I just published a few months ago another message, long message on my website that he sent me. I had ongoing, it's not maybe a daily thing, you know, because you have to do different things in life, but it's always there. And sometimes I had visits last winter. I had several encounters. I see spaceships around here. Sometimes, just like as I look out the window, there's a couple there, or so there has to be more than coincidence. Yeah. And so then if I feel disposed, you know, I have to communicate. Sometimes a remote view, who's there, what are you doing? Sometimes they come and show up, and I would say in the astral form with some information. It's too much to report. It's just I cannot keep up with everything myself. So if I had to write everything, that's why I write books. I can share some of it, but cannot share all the details.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edna. Great question. All right. Does anybody else have a question? I know Michael or Mike, you were wondering about. Did you want to ask a question, Mike, or do you want me to ask, because you had asked me through an email?
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can ask.
Want me to ask?
Email I sent you. Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Mike Martin is very curious about the Dogman, and if you have had any encounters with them.
Yeah, it's a very closely related topic in a way, but it's also quite different. Mm-hmm. Because from my experience and understanding, there's different phenomena associated with the Dogman. There is one, okay, I'll try to, okay. try to explain what the little I know about it.
Mhm.
There is some type of Sasquatch-like beings, more like you could say a baboon face, which can look like a like a dog or wolf.
Mhm.
I had an encounter with one clan like that. That told me their lineage is from different star systems and things like that. There's also reports about that, about even military intelligence that the military are after them.
Mm.
They try to catch those beings, just like with Sasquatch as well.
Mhm.
That's one explanation. There's others. There's stories. Well, like I said, in my own experience, I had this one encounter I just said, and once another time, Dogman came in astral form as part of our collective. So, but there are other phenomena that can be very interpreted as the Dogman phenomena. It's what we would call in our cultures the werewolves.
Mhm.
The stories are around the world. There's the Anishinaabe tribes, for instance, call them the Wendigo, and the Navajo would say the Skinwalkers.
Mm.
They are basically it's an evil detrimental witchcraft practice that exists since ages, known as the werewolf in Europe, where those beings are like possessed by some kind of a spirit that pushes them to eat flesh, human flesh, and to become beasts, basically, bloodthirsty beasts. That shapeshift. Those are people that shapeshift, turn into beasts at some point after some ritual or full moon or something, and they are feared by all tribes. I will tell, you stay away from those beings, and there's ways to protect yourself. They try to get to your soul.
Mm.
So that's also often why we hear some stories of Dogman that are like terrifying and everything, and I believe that's related to this. And I had an experience about that in Australia, actually. The Dingo Man, they say it out there. And it's a story that's not spoken too much about. It's a bit taboo because it's not what the indigenous cultures want to be known for or remembered for.
Mm.
But this phenomenon exists since past ages of shapeshifters who through witchcraft. So they can turn often in a beast that looks most often like a wolf or a dog. So that's another explanation. I'm not saying the Dogman phenomena are this, but that's a common one. And I had first-hand experiences. I saw one shapeshift on Navajo reservation also. So I know for one thing they exist. When I saw that guy in that monster man in the desert, one night driving by, I didn't want to stop.
Mhm. So what did you do to protect yourself when you saw that being, if you don't mind me?
Well, there's many things they say. First, you don't look at them in the eyes. They say if you know their name and you call them while they're shapeshifted, I can kill them or bring them back. There's different things, you know. It's a complex story. They also say, the Navajo say, you don't mention them after dark. So I'm a bit on the edge here.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you. So is there a way that anyone can, you know, surround themselves with a bubble of light, and that would that repel them? Yeah. Okay.
Exactly. Like with all contrary or negative forces might harm or attack us, it's the same. There's some, you know, if you do this kind of spiritual work, you get used to psychic attacks. Then, you know, I've been asked for decades to do cleansing and exorcism and this kind of healing work. The first thing, you have to be able to face those forces, and they can be threatening sometimes. But if you know you're one with the one, and that you're just doing your part in the whole for the betterment, you don't have to fear.
That's right. Well,
Yeah,
thank you.
compassion and unconditional love. That's the main tool, the main condition to do this kind of work. You don't do it for anything else than helping.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. So does anybody else have any questions? All right. Oh, Elizabeth's here. Sorry, Elizabeth. It didn't even dawn on me that you're in the square now.
I want to go back to the ETs and kind of like, I know that you said that, like, I'm just hoping that you can illuminate a little bit more about like how it, like, what's the big picture of everything, you know, because you mentioned that in one of your 86 experiences, that with the craft with the 2 crystal wheels that created that electromagnetic field, and Catherine said she saw something similar, but I don't think, I might have missed it, but I don't remember you saying that you ever went anywhere with them. Did you end up ever going anywhere with any of these ETs? And can you also illuminate for us a little bit about like, do the Sasquatch fit in with like a particular ET race? Like, are they like kind of sent here by a certain ET race, or are they kind of like do their own thing, or like, how does all that, like, I'm just kind of curious about the big picture, that's all.
For sure. Yeah, we're all curious because we only see just a very tiny part of it all. I've had, you know, I forgot to, well, for the time we had available, I didn't get into the last years when I started having regular messages from these star beings and being taken on ships more than once, at least. That I remember half a dozen times on the huge mothership, where I was always given an information download, and I was shown some of the beings there, and there were often Sasquatch among them. When I was channeling the books before that, or around that time, I saw, sometimes, very often, I was writing, and I would get the message, look out, and there was a spaceship there coming or hovering. I would ask, who are you? Where do you come from? And I usually received the same answer, that once they sent me all kind of faces coming down like a movie, all different faces, different types of beings and everything. And they told me, well, we come from a lot of places you never heard of, from places you have no idea they exist. But we're all united in the Star Council of Elders. There are different ways to word it, but there's Universal Cosmic Council that watches over the world and their development and over the souls. So those are the ones I have been contacted by them, and they're the ones I work with. I know where there's some groups that are not working for our best interests. There's some rogue factions, there's some different agenda, political and occult and military interests involved. The governments know those guys well, actually.
Are those Sasquatch beings or other type of beings?
No, I mentioned like those rogue factions that trying to enslave humanity and other planets, and
Mhm.
trying to, through mind control, through we could say dark magic, we could say all kind of means, technological and everything.
Mm.
That our governments are very often in connivance with those beings. They're complicit. You know, that's where all this the technological boost from the last 70 years came. It's not only reverse engineering, there's been deals made. There's also this increase in abduction. Now we hear about millions of people. If we add all the reports that were abducted against their will, and sometimes for traumatic experiences. So that's a different class of extraterrestrials that do not sit at the Star Council because they don't have the level of care, consciousness that the elders, the spiritual elders. So it's hard to like describe the universe in a few sentences, but to me, there's it's a great family, and like in every family, you know, there's more loving, more caring individuals or parts than others. There are more selfish or destructive behaviors in others. We're all, there's no straight line between black and white. It's made of shades of gray. There's we're all on a healing journey, and we all have much to learn and to work on, or we wouldn't be here. And we also have to understand that all those different species have their own karma stories to heal from. Us as human, are we benevolent or malevolent? We cannot answer that question. It's up to each individual. In a general scale, if we look at humanity, we're detrimental for most life forms on this planet. It doesn't mean it's our nature and it's what we have to be, but it means we have to correct and work on it to get to a higher consciousness, a better harmony with the environments we're given to evolve in. So
would
it's
it
just
be fair? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to conclude on this, that the same way every species, there's not the good guys and the bad guys. You know, all those like say the reptilians or the greys or even the Sasquatch, you know, they're all good or they're all bad. It's not like that. It's just all individual souls that work within a karmic group with its own with lineages, with ancestral memories and genetic karma transmitted, and we're all going to that healing. So the best, what they taught me is like to deal with any kind of spirit or entity or being, whether they're physical or not, whether they seem benevolent or not. It's it's compassion and acceptance and universal love, so you can help even the worst ones in their healing process. That's how we work on our own.
Okay, great. That was a good answer. I like that. So is it fair to say that Sasquatch are their own being, like they weren't manufactured by any other race of ETs. It sounds to me like they might cooperate with various races of ETs, but they are their own, like they evolved on their own. Is that fair to say?
Well, they were also bioengineered because they have a splice gene like we do, which does not happen in nature. And we know, well, Chinese geneticists have identified hundreds, like 200-300 horizontal genes in the human genome that were introduced at some point, didn't come from natural lineage. So we're a melting pot. We have several types of hominins too. We carry their genes, and star beings. So again, we carry also their in those genetic memories, their ancestral karma. So we cannot solve humanity's karma without including in the equations the others that are part of it, that are influencing the process.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Okay, now we have Lorelei. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, I just noticed it. Thank you, and thank you for your talk this evening. I've been looking forward to meeting you. My question to you that comes up a lot, I know you said they're interdimensional, which helped a lot in my understanding because I was told I lived on property with a large paranormal vortex by Native American that that used to have that land. And is that your understanding that they are capable of like opening these or creating these and going through them? And my other question to you is, do you feel because of this lineage, do you have, like with their lineage, do you feel that like you have certain abilities that they themselves embody spiritually? Like, do you feel that you have maybe a more connection to being interdimensional in some of the work you do?
Yeah, well, the genetics certainly play because we carry these memories. I'm not saying it's necessary either, though, or the only factor, because you have to do the work. You have to walk the steps. It's not gonna come to you on a silver platter. Some people would like to meet Sasquatch and they wait in their living room, and it might happen, but you have a better chance if you do a few first steps yourself and go out in the bush and where they live in the wilderness, where they can much more easily manifest without scaring you. Yeah, I'd say that genetics is part of the equation, but our soul is the main captain of the ship. Basically, it's we do what we want with our life. If we want to progress in such a spiritual path, we have to work on it. We have to be focused and put constant, continuous efforts, and that's when the results come. Practice makes better.
Yeah, that's been from my experiences too. And the more you heal and raise your vibration, the more those things flow, and the channeling flows, everything flows. But yeah, I didn't know, like I asked if, are they able to open those? Like some people say they make like these medicine wheels to open these vortexes or various other things. Is that your experience with it?
They can open portals. Actually, every high enough consciousness being that understand the interdimensionality of the universe, how the laws of physics can be bent, can be modified. The space-time continuum we're so familiar with in our actual level of consciousness is but a very slight, thin slice of the existence. Even now, science admits The physical world is maybe 3% of the energy we can perceive and calculate. So that means 97% of what's around us, we don't see or hear with our physical senses. It's not less real. It's just another level of reality and existence. And the more we expand our consciousness beyond the little materialist box we were put in, we start to see, wow, there's a sky above me, and there's a lot of universes and dimensions, and then we're free to explore and to in the book to the Sasquatch Message to Humanity, they asked me to explain in details what are these dimensions that make the universe we're in, the multiverse. And it's all very simple and basic mathematics if you think about it. It's just that we've been trapped into this mindset that there's only what we can touch and see and taste and smell, and which is totally wrong. So those portals, like you mentioned, it's actually NASA researching on portal. Now they admit it finally.
Finally.
The institutions like CERN or Hadron Colliders, particular colliders, they openly admit since years they work on portals, opening portals to other dimensions and quantum computers. They're tapping into another dimension to use that energy into our physical world. That's like siphoning gas somewhere else. So that's what they say, and they even claim, they're summoning the demon with their AI and their, it can be dangerous to play with portal if you don't know what to do, if you're an apprentice sorcerer. But we can all, since the universe exists and our ancestors in shamanic tribes and all these traditions, they have understanding about portals and about how dimensions can sometimes through a window, through a connection, a nexus point, because scalar waves means coupled at the same frequency. When they move and converge, where they converge, it creates a nexus point which opens a portal naturally. That can be achieved with basic technology, including pyramids. So these portals can tap into the other dimension and open a window where we can communicate. And some beings can come in and out. We just have to be very, very careful when we play with. We shouldn't play with those things. We should maybe work under guidance and with the proper knowledge. Because I had this year. Actually, I moved in this place a year ago, and there was a portal in this place, and because of the old village witch that used to live here, and there's a graveyard in front of everything, and for a while it's like, oh, there's a portal, and visitors, but after a while it's like you don't let your home door wide open all the time. You open it when there's someone you want to come in, let in. But otherwise, you shut it, you even lock it because you don't want any intruders to come into your house. So the portal is pretty much the same. And it's detrimental. Some things I've explained in writings that it's detrimental to leave a portal open unattended because then anything can use it.
Yep. So did anybody else have anything they wanted to ask? I don't see any hands. All right. Well, I just want to say thank you again, SunBow. This has been an amazing, amazing evening, and I am just so grateful for you being here tonight and sharing your wisdom and your journey and your heart with us. It's just, it's very close to my heart. I'll just show you, I have my little guy here. Not from Washington. I have my little mascot here, so, but I'm just so happy that you were here with us tonight. And I would love it if you come back again and share some more, because I just feel like you have so much, you have so much that you could share with us, you know, if you want to.
Sure.
It's always open for it, and you could always just come in as a, you know, somebody that's, you know, an experiencer. I have sharing groups too, and I also do these the speaker meetings, so you're welcome to join us anytime, and you're also always welcome to come back as a speaker. So we just love having you here. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Wonderful night. Thank you. All right.